everyone, and welcome to the Scratchicus Academy. We are still in our first week of season 2. I can't quite believe it. Renee will be our wonderful DM today, but before she gets back, I'm going to run through some bits about the channel. So we have a really awesome Discord. It's full of absolutely wonderful, beautiful people, and we're so pleased with this community because it's so friendly. And if you want to come and join that, head over to our Discord. We talk TTRPGs, D&D, and everything. If you want to get into one of these games, now that we're in season 2, we have 5 viewer games. We have, I believe, we have Ravnica, we have D&D 5e, run by Katie Fays. We also have RaeDeAnne, Cypher System, Monster of the Week, that's it, Monster of the Week, which starts next Monday, which I'm super excited to tune in for. Also, we've got our lovely YouTube. We are not uploading all the 40 games we ran over 12 days of Christmas because that might kill our computers. But if there's one in particular you really want to rewatch or see again, just drop us a message and we will upload it. We already have Conan up for you, and also the first episode of The Mists of Sire. And I believe tomorrow's games will be up tomorrow. Yesterday's games. Yeah, I'm there, I'm with this. Patreon, we are now full-time, and that is thanks to you wonderful people. If you would like to support us, please feel free to head over to the Patreon, my words today, and support us that way. We also have some free articles on there, some of which are written by our very lovely Renee, who is DMing today. They are free, so definitely go check those out. We also have merch. We use Redbubble for our merch, and Redbubble puts our logo on absolutely anything. It turns out they do. You can get Scratchicus Academy bed sheets if you really want. You can get it mini Scratch trying to get the leggings. I don't know how I feel about that yet. And just all manner of wonderful things. We also have some really awesome sponsors, some of them in the form of Bird in the Storm, who is our very own Tool School, who you may have seen on Eberron, and Bird vs. Plane, who you will have definitely seen over Christmas. They do some awesome merch where you can see a link in chat. They do hoodies, t-shirts, they do mugs the size of your head, which is the perfect size for coffee. And also we have the wonderful Mage Hand Press, who did the reskin of D&D 5e Dark Matter Alpha, which is basically D&D in space, and it's pretty badass, really. In fact, one of our players on here was in one of them, which was yeah, there we go, which was good fun in Argo 37 last season. And this season we are having another campaign in the Dark Matter run by our wonderful and very own Laugh Love Lindy, which I believe is tomorrow night at 10 p.m. EST. Last but not least, we no longer have Wild Magic Surges. We have a list, no, we don't have a list of trinkets. Guys, this is a whole new system. This is Weave. So each of our characters have I guess you would say, like a power move or like a finish him move. And we can use that once per session. So instead of gifting trinkets or Wild Magic Surges or anything, now you can donate for us to add more than one use of that per session. I don't know what the other players' signature moves are, but I have seen a lot of them and they're pretty badass. I know I can't wait to use mine, but yes, I'm super excited. I will hand over to the wonderful Renee as soon as she sorts out that amazing window view, which I'm sure you can see from her home. That is what is outside her window right now. Yeah, and we will see that fall down when a cat decides to jump on it, probably any minute now. So
I did shut the door in the hopes that the cat would not come in here, but
stop.
no, and it won't last because then my parents will go to bed and they'll open the door so the cat can come in and not be alone, and then we'll be up a creek again. This background is not at all like themed for today. So I apologize for that. Please don't be alarmed. Um, this is a big deal day for me, and there were a lot of things that were like a little bit last minute, including the background. So thank you all for being here. This is my first ever long form stream that I'm running a game for. So I will be your storyteller for this adventure, which is kind of like the Weave name for GM. Go figure. I have an incredible cast, and I am very much looking forward to it. Did I say I'm Renee? I know Alice said I'm
I said
Renee,
you were
but
Renee. I said you were
thank you. Hi, I'm Renee, and I will be your storyteller for this Dynama adventure. Quick little background. I'm pretty new to this game. I've run a one shot of it before. None of the players have played. So we are all kind of learning as we go. And so I will kind of tie in some of the information on how the game is run as we go through it. I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm hoping that you'll enjoy this game as much as I have enjoyed it since I started playing it. We have a great story here today, and it was all kind of decided by the cards that were drawn from the deck, which is tarot inspired. So I drew 3 cards that were story related, and the 2 that I have for you are the theme and location, which I can't tell you exactly what they mean yet. They were the storm and the gateway. I also drew a card that was somewhat of a boss card, and I can't share that one yet, even if it wouldn't make a whole ton of sense to you because it's just my little secret. But I will be able to share that as we go. The characters were also built by the drawing of cards. So each of them drew, or I drew them. I had the cards with me, but I did like a reading for each of them. So 4 cards were drawn, and from those they made the decisions for their characters' backgrounds, talents, flaws, and signature moves and their inventories, and then wove all of those in together for their characters. Real quickly, before we get started, we can go around and introduce who you are and who you're playing today. I would say maybe save some of your talents and backgrounds to like tell as we tell the story, but definitely give us just like a little bit about your character. I don't know the order that the screen is because that's another thing that I haven't like
Pick
done yet.
anyone randomly.
Alice, can you go first, please?
I will go first. Also, thank you to Michael Wayne, who donates £3 for the lovely Akeley Lane. And also, Kentucky Hawkeye donates 600 bits for a reroll for, am I saying this right? Sarah? Is it Sierra?
Oh, Sierra.
And the lovely Skylar, who is also killing. Yeah, I am White Rabbit Pick, or Alice, as you can call me. I am playing Umiko. I am playing a fairly young woman who has grown up amongst the mountains and fjords most of her life. She had a very peaceful, simple life, and she, with her brother, or used to with her brother, herded reindeer. That's what they did. They would herd reindeer. That was their livestock. And she does have a lovely animal companion as well. Yeah, I think that's what I'll give for Umiko right now. You're muted, Renee.
Sorry, my cursor got stuck and that was really weird. Yes, thank you so much. Let's just kind of continue going around from what is on my screen. So sorry if this is a bit all over the place, but Julie.
Hello, I'm Julie. I go by Jgrave Art just about everywhere on social media. I am playing Fen today, who is a pretty like heavily armored warrior type. She's built a lot of things about her kind of pieced together from honestly like whatever she can find, plus a lot of machine parts, including her arm, which she lost at one point while exploring some ruins. And with part of that experience. She kind of is a little world weary, but is on the whole still very like friendly and likes to be useful. And I think that's where I'm gonna leave it.
Perfect. And then Kelly, could you introduce Skylar?
Sure. So, hi everyone, I'm Kelly. Today I'm going to be playing Skylar, who is a very petite, very tiny young woman who has set out for home, kind of searching for answers. She grew up in kind of a woodsman's family. Her father used to gather and trade with the local town, but she grew up playing in the woods and playing in the trees, and now her family has her sister has moved on with her life, and Skylar just decided to set out on adventure, basically, trying to explore the land and learn about her home. And that's who I'm playing today.
Awesome. And then if we could go over to Jay to introduce Sierra. And I did finally get the stream pulled up, and it looks like we went exactly in order. So, yay.
Well, hi, I'm Jay. I'll be playing Sierra. So Sierra is older. She's in her late 40s, and she is an experienced fortune teller, and she's gained quite some renown for her fortunes, which tend to be very positive, and people really like hearing what she has to say about their futures. And she's earned quite a bit of coin from that as well. And she's very ambitious. And that is Sierra.
Perfect. Okay. A little bit more before we get started. Weave is run with dice that have symbols on them. So we've coordinated. We will be rolling in roll 20, but every number coordinates to a symbol on the die, and I will show you those as we get started. But we did actually pass 10 retweets. So thank you so much. I rolled a 1d4 in roll 20. And Alice, if you could roll me a 1d100, please.
Uh, 77.
Perfect. Okay. All right. We will get there very soon. All right. Dynama, for background, is a playset in Weave. It is not available yet in that I wrote it, and so it's very new. But we'll be playing with a couple of the things that I've written in. Today will be a get to know you session as we kind of introduce the characters and bring the party together. I'm very much looking forward to it, and thank you all for being here. Without further ado, Jay.
Hi.
Sierra used to be an adventurer, correct?
Yeah. She went from town to town telling fortunes, and that's how she made her living.
Well, she is at an inn, and she hears a knock at the door.
Is there someone there?
Excuse me, I heard you were here.
Who do you presume you to be?
Sorry, Sierra, we met a few years back.
Have we? I don't recognize the voice. Who is this?
Jamathan.
You know, I do meet so many people on my journey. I don't remember everyone that I encounter. I'm so sorry. You'll have to remind me who you are.
He laughs and he says, having this conversation face to face might be nice.
Oh yes. Sorry, I'm a little distracted. And Sierra will get up and open the door.
And Sierra, you see a weathered man standing before you, and his face is more familiar than his name. His voice actually, now that you've seen his face, starts to come back to you, but it is more gravelly than when you last heard it, because you last heard it about 10 years ago. When you were passing through a smaller town, you forged connections with the people that you told fortunes for. That's part of who you are. You care about people, and you make relationships as you go. And Jamathan was someone who didn't seem to have a lot of prospects when he first came to you to have his fortune read. He'd been saving up for it for a while. You could tell you were already, had a pretty good name for yourself as you passed through. People would hear your name and kind of be like, oh, I want to have her read my fortune. So he'd been saving some money when he first met you. And he didn't have a great future. At least not before he came to talk to you. He had kind of hit the ground running with a business that fell apart very quickly and wasn't sure what his prospects were going to be. He had kind of pushed people away from him, and his relationships were falling apart. And he made an impact on you because he was one of the few people who took everything that you said to heart. And any advice that you gave him, he used introspectively, which is something that you don't always see. Sometimes when you tell fortunes, people will blame it on their surroundings or other people, and he very much took it to heart about himself. And the next time you passed through the town, he introduced himself to you again and told you the story. He now had a thriving small business, he was making friends, and he was smiling at you in a way that he didn't the first time you met. And then again, a few years later, he said hi again, and you've started to recognize him and just see his face more and more everywhere. And so he looks older, he looks different, and he looks a little bit travel worn. But he is there, standing in front of you at the door to this inn.
You've matured. I see.
So have you, so have we all. It is a rough world. Do you mind if I buy you dinner?
Oh, well, I don't see why not.
I have well, it's not a business proposal so much as just I have something I'd like to run by you, and I will pay you for your time, of course. Any advice you have to give business will be compensated.
Of course, yes, business.
And he nods and he says, I hear they have good meals downstairs if you're willing to just stay here for the night.
Absolutely. I had no plans to go tell any more fortunes tonight. I was about to turn in anyway, so.
He nods and he's kind of like, well, sorry to keep you. And he has kind of like a hat that he has kind of twisted in his hands. But he walks in front down the stairs and kind of like leads you into the open area that's like the lobby of the inn. And they have a wait staff who's going around and taking orders for all of the different tables. They're set with these like copper plateware and mugs, and it's just a very like, some of them have little like flowers stuck in. Some of the flowers don't look like they've been very well watered and should probably be changed out, but it's kind of a rustic atmosphere feel to this little luncheon area for the tavern. And he He motions to a table that's empty.
This place is, it's homey, for sure.
Do you often stay in places this homey as you travel?
Well, I prefer the finer things in life, if I'm being honest, but this will do.
And Jay, could you explain how Sierra looks?
So Sierra has very tan skin that looks golden, and it actually glows. She wears thin fabric, of blue and purple materials, clearly very expensive. She probably has to replace it often, but she does this to show off her glowing skin. And she can wear it in cold weather. She can wear it during the winter time because she also radiates heat. And this is something that people really connect with when she reads their fortune. She likes to take people's hands and they can feel her warmth. She has gray hair and dark eyes, and her face shows signs of age. She has wrinkles and deep smile lines. But she looks very regal, is probably like the one word that would encapsulate her appearance the most. She looks very royal in appearance. Like she has that kind of air about her.
People definitely take note of that as she comes in and sits down at a table. She gives off the air of someone with fame. And so you see, like, and this happens a lot to you, where people kind of look over and start talking amongst themselves as if they are trying to parse out who you are, if you might be royalty of some sort, or if they might know who you are and can figure it out based on your appearance. They are all kind of like talking to themselves, and he's looking around and he says, oh, I suppose you get this a lot as well.
Yes, I don't mind it though. And I kind of wave to the onlookers.
He nods to them, and you know, he's a little bit more sheepish, and he says, I'd like to get to the point. I didn't know you were here until I heard word of it in town earlier today, and I tried to figure out where you were staying because you see, I've been leading a band of warriors isn't quite the right word. There are people who care about our safety in the towns, and lately the old world is becoming more and more dangerous. The ruins around the area have become more and more swarmed with mechs, and they're getting closer to our towns, to our families, and to our homes. And I don't claim to be any kind of warrior or traveler myself, but I've found a passion for protecting people and protecting what I've built. When I first met you, I didn't know how much I would care about the things that I've created, but not only that, the people that I've created relationships with. I didn't have that before you read my fortune, and to be frank, you gave me hope.
Jamathan, darling, I appreciate the fact that I could have such an impact on you, but I don't know what you expect me to do, a healer myself, in a fight against machines.
Not a fight. I'm not asking you to fight. I understand that would be perhaps outside of your realm of expertise. or business model, let's call it.
Now you're speaking my language.
But I would like for you to come talk to them before we head out. We're heading out in just 2 days' time, kind of gathering some supplies here in town. I'm staying with some of my family members, my cousins, and we're all gathering together 2 days, dawn, to set out and face the mechs that approach us. I'd like for you to send us off. Maybe with some personal small fortunes, but really, I'd like you to share with them what you shared with me. A message of hope.
I think that can be arranged for a price.
Of course, money is no object, and I understand that your time is valuable.
You're too kind. Well, is that all for this evening?
Yes, unless you still wanted to eat.
Oh, I came down as a courtesy. I actually already had dinner, so
I
but
understand.
it was good to make an appearance, and it was good to see you again after so long.
It was good to see you as well. Could I come back tomorrow just to discuss fees, exactly how much I'll need to have in order for you to come out at dawn? And if so, is there a time that would work best for your schedule?
Of course. It would actually be wonderful if you could stop by in the morning, before I begin to make my rounds around the town.
Of course. And thank you for meeting with me so promptly. I'm sure it's I know it was a little bit last minute and unpredicted, but when I heard you were here, I couldn't pass up on the opportunity to have you speak for the others before we go.
Oh, you flatter me so. And as Sierra says that, she's going to kind of place her hand on his hand, just like, oh, you flatter me. And Sierra actually has a talent that allows her to either see someone's past or future when she touches them. I don't know if I can use that now. Is that something I can?
No, you absolutely can. So you reach out and you touch Jameson's hand. And in a brief flash, that's always how this happens. Once you touch someone, it's almost just an image that appears in your mind's eye for a brief moment before it passes. And you see him, a ragtag band of people, presumably the people that he's been talking about, locked in battle with machines. Large creatures, dangerous. They usually mind their own business unless provoked or unless they find someone nearby. It's not quite obvious what makes them attack, but he is leading these men into battle in this flash frame of the clash, the moment that they meet. And that is all you see.
Take care of yourself, Jameson.
I will. Thank you again. And he kind of pushes back his chair and he says, to be honest, I already ate as well. I'll see you tomorrow.
I will see you tomorrow. It was a pleasure.
And he ducks away, leaving you in this room of people. And one girl kind of pushes back her chair, and she looks younger. She kind of has like fancy braids, and she has like a little scarf tied around her neck. And she makes her way over to you and just says, "Hi, I'm sorry. You wouldn't happen to be Sierra, would you?"
Why, yes, I would. Hello. How are you? Who are you?
Bellamy. I have a journal and some charcoal. Can I get your autograph?
Oh, of course, of course. Anything for the fans. And she'll make her. It's a very elaborate autograph. Like, it takes up the whole page. But it's very round and like swirly, and there's like filigree and.
And that is where we will hop on over to Skylar. Skylar, you have been traveling for a while yourself, haven't you?
Yep. Just kind of bouncing from place to place. Even spending a lot of time not really in any town in particular.
Completely understandable. What have you been doing with your time since you left home?
So Skylar, she is most definitely just a wanderer. She's just kind of goes where the wind takes her. She probably never spends a night in the same place twice. And she does have some healing gifts. And so often when she does stop by any kind of settlement, even if it's just a single family, she looks for the poorest, the most downtrodden, and sees if she can provide any kind of comfort, whether that's just through healing words and providing comfort or actual aid. She also tends to gather stories as she travels. She listens to whispers and rumors, trying to just learn as much as she can about the powers that are in this world that she's witnessed herself.
You have recently arrived in the town of Mellowary. And Mellowary is mid-sized. It's not quite like a large city, and you have visited some of those in your travels. You often find yourself in smaller villages too, and this is not that either. It's bustling, it's full of activity, but it is still kind of middle of the ground as far as size in the region. Mellowary it's a merchant stop. A lot of people pass through hawking their wares on their way to the next place. And because so many people stop here, it's become kind of a thriving hub for that. And you arrive midday-ish. Where do you go when you get into a town like this?
I think the first thing Skylar does really anywhere she goes is really scope the place out, kind of see what the town dynamics are. I think she has a really good ability to see kind of big picture of kind of who's doing well in town, where are certain neighborhoods, and what neighborhoods might actually be able to use her help. I think also in a town that is such heavily merchant stop, though, she would go through imagine like the market square or areas wherever the merchants might be selling their wares, looking for anyone selling books and like medicinal supplies that she can stock up on.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's just midday by the time you get into town. There are a number of merchants who are kind of coming back from their lunch break. And so there's kind of a new refreshed crowd coming through and looking at all of these wares that the merchants have. And there's you recognize a lot of machine parts. You recognize a lot of fragments of the old world, some of which can't possibly be for what they're be for the purpose that they're being sold for. Forks are probably maybe not for brushing your hair, but that's definitely what merchants are selling them for. And so you see them like hawking these old relics of the past, and you kind of pass these stalls before you find someone who is in fact selling herbs.
And I think as Skylar is walking through these merchants that are clearly hawking things that don't have the purpose as described, she's doing so very like angry almost. Like she's just irritated, and she's like keeps rolling her eyes and like elbowing past them and really not giving them any mind until she finds what she's looking for. And she immediately kind of lights up when she sees someone that actually has herbs, and she starts to run over and then like calms down and walks up to them. And it's
the person there immediately looks up as you approach. The stall is a little bit less traveled than some of the others.
She's, hi. I need to refill my kit, and it seems like you're the only person around here selling anything that has any kind of use to it.
Oh, that is a pleasure to hear. And they kind of they turn towards you, and they have a hood pulled over their head, and bright, vibrant eyes, tanned skin, and they kind of look down at their stock and say, "Most people wouldn't agree with you."
Most people waste their money on useless things.
Oh, I like you. Well, most people like to hear a story. That's why they get so much attention, you know. They like to hear what they have to say. They like to think that there's more to it than what we see. But honestly, sometimes it really is about what we see and what we can do about it. And that's where I come in. What are you looking for?
And I think Skylar has enough knowledge. One of her skills is that she knows exactly what herbs and things can help heal. Like she maybe wouldn't even go for a list. She would just look at what's laid out and just start pointing.
Oh, yeah. This person is so thrilled by that. You get the impression that this doesn't happen often. So as you start pointing to things, they're making like the oh face as they start to kind of like bundle up the herbs, and they're sticking them into like small pouches and just kind of tucking them away as you ask for the specific herbs and the amounts. And as they kind of package the third or fourth bag, they look at you and say, "This isn't for cooking, is it?"
No, that's... I mean, I do that too, but mostly I go door to door and help those that I can in the ways that I can, usually with some healing.
This, and she holds up the pouch that she just like packed. You know that it has like a very bitter taste, but it's very good for pain. And they kind of are like, well, this would not taste good on a venison steak, but it does have more practical uses. Tell me, what do you do?
What do you, like, how do I spend my day?
More, what is your practice?
I'm a healer, I guess. I don't know. I don't have any kind of formal training, but I've picked up a lot of skills along the way, and I just go and try and serve those people who maybe can't afford to pay for someone to come out and see them. And often I find people are more than happy to trade a place to stay for the night, some food from their table, and maybe even a trinket or two that helps keep me going. But as you can tell, I just travel with what I've got on me.
You have a passion for it, then.
Yeah, it's really all I have now.
If I may ask a more sensitive question.
Okay.
Are you a healer for those wounded by violence?
Sometimes. You find a lot of people out gathering, trying to feed their families who get, caught by machines or by other people, and I help them too.
I know a group in town. I'm honestly, well, I worry for what they're setting out to do. I'm sure you've encountered plenty of machines in your travels.
I usually run away, yeah.
Well, they are not doing that. In fact, they're looking for a fight, it seems. They want to approach the machines, but let me be clear. I think it's a fool's errand. I think that there's more to the machines than we know. And just by attacking them, I don't think we're going to get far. But, as it happens, my children are very caught up in the cause. If I were a healer myself, I might go with them to see if I could protect them from any harm. I couldn't get near the machines, you understand. I completely understand where you're coming from, but I worry that they might be hurt and have no one there to help them. Is that something you would be interested in helping with?
Oh. Why are they doing that? It's one thing to go out and hunt the machines because you want to learn. There's a great deal we can learn from them, which is why I scoff at these people just making things up. It's another thing to be going out seeking some kind of unnecessary glory.
I understand. Thank you, Michael Wayne, for gifting a sub for the Arcane Code. They nod, and they kind of they work on packaging the next pouch of herbs for you, and they say, as I understand it, the machines are on the move. They're getting closer to towns than they have been before, and well, the closer they are to town, the more people get hurt. It's one thing if they're just roaming the ruins, remnants of the old world. You have to go find them in order to get into trouble. But now that they're getting closer, well, it seems some believe that meeting them before they arrive is the solution.
I guess I kind of understand that line of thought. I have noticed over the last year while I've been traveling that I'm spending more time healing up missing body parts than I am healing up stuffy noses. You said your children are part of this group?
Yes.
I see what I can do.
I can give you their information. I don't expect you to go. Let me be very clear. I don't have the money to hire you.
I don't ask for that kind of thing.
I can give you these herbs. I sense a passion in you. Just even how you look at the other stalls is different than most people I see come by. And if there's nothing you can do, I'll understand. If they are hurt and I lose them, then I will understand. But if there's something I could do, even if it's just asking a healer to look over them from afar, I'll feel better about it.
You seem like a very generous person with what little you have and how underappreciated your work here is. It's very generous of you to give me those, and they'll go really far in helping a lot of people. So I will be very happy to pay you back in helping you. And I just hope that, no matter what I can do to help, that you keep up that generous spirit.
I hope they do go a long way to helping. Like I said, most of the times I am selling these just to spice up someone's dinner. It's nice to know that my purpose will help someone else's purpose. And they write down information for you on where the group is gathering tomorrow morning at dawn. And they hand you the parchment with the information on it, and they say, I don't know how much you have to spend, but there's a small inn on the outskirts of town, not quite like the one. There's a much bigger one here just off the market. Nicer place, but also much more pricey. There's a smaller inn if you would like to stay. I also wrote the directions at the bottom.
Thank you. I definitely, money is really helpful, but I don't have a ton of it, so thank you. And she takes kind of the note and reads it and all the little bits and packages, and she's got this like huge bag with all of these little pockets and vials, and you see other herbs, and she kind of opens it up, and everything kind of has its own little place and maybe its own little stitched pocket, and they all quickly kind of go away, and then the note she has a little pocket right on top. She puts it in.
They smile at that, and they start to see someone else who's kind of like pointing towards the herb stall, and they look a little bit pleasantly surprised. Oh, well, to get 2 customers so quickly. Well, thank you again, and may the Dynama be with you. And then they kind of turn to the new customers who are approaching and kind of talking amongst themselves about what they're making for dinner. And they make eye contact with you one more time, the shopkeeper, and just kind of like low key rolls their eyes, just so you know what they mean. And
she smiles.
With that, we will hop over to Fen.
Oh.
Julie, how does Fen spend a lot of their time?
Well, until recently, I think it was more staying close to home and going out kind of with a couple other people to, not necessarily as like hunting parties, but like whenever any of these machines got a little too close, would start actually seeing them from town, they'd go out on a bit of a raid and try and either chase them off or destroy anything that was too close. But I think more recently I get the feeling someone came by and sparked an interest in them.
Okay. Yes. Since you arrived at Mellowary, it's there are a number of ruins that aren't too far, just an hour or so's walk from where you are and where you're staying. And a number of those ruins do have mechs that have kind of been patrolling, been prowling in the area. And it's easy to find a merchant who just wants some metal scraps for the project that they're putting together, or someone who has requested gears, which can also be found in mechs in the area. And a couple of them have asked around and are looking for someone to go and fetch some of those parts by taking down a mech in the area.
Right. I think that's definitely right up her alley. I can do that.
You know pretty much where they reside. In fact, this is something that Finn is pretty familiar with overall, taking down mechs. And you passed a ruin just on your way in, an old building. The walls have kind of collapsed in, and a lot of the concrete has been grown over. But you did notice the few telltale lights of mechs patrolling the area when you first came through.
I don't know if... I think start at least like tracking for a little while, like knowing we're gonna wind up where we're going, but just get a first glance of at least what type these ones are.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of patrol the area, just kind of keeping to the outer edges. And if you could, go ahead and do our first roll of the night. We're going to go ahead and do just a perception check, so it'll be a base pool of 3, and that's it. You only need 1 success. And we are looking for Gales. For reference, this is, well, if I didn't just knock the die off the table, just a moment. This is what we would be looking for if we had the dice in front of us. Since we do not, we will be rolling in roll 20, and we are looking for 2s, which will be our Gale's equivalent.
Alrighty. I'm not gonna add anything this time. I think I'm typing it right.
Oh, okay, cool, yes. So, yeah, you did not get a 2, but you
did
did
get a success.
Automatic success, which is a 6, and that is a weave, again, for those... Whoops. Ba-dum-bum. So weaves are automatic successes, and they also explode. So you can re-roll them to see if you get any further successes with the potential of getting an epic success.
All right.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Well.
Which means you get to re-roll again.
Jeez. I wish I could roll as well on other games.
Okay. You have effectively 3 successes when you only needed 1. Which does in fact make this an epic success. Way to start the rolls for the game. I mean, way to take my nerves and just like be like, oh, okay, this bode's completely
It's chill, we're good.
good.
Got this.
Yeah. With an epic success, you can actually dictate how this pans out.
Oh boy. All right. How I'm thinking is this is probably a single kind of tracker type mech that is, at least to Fen, kind of easy pickings. And it's alone, so I think...
Even better.
Yeah. So kind of taking a look around, noting that nothing else is there and it hasn't seen them yet. Probably just go for it.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, this is pretty easy pickings, and because you have a good lay of the land with that perception roll, you do know that you are pretty safe going after this mech, and it should afford you all of the parts that you were hired to get. Pretty easy, pretty standard. They're pretty common as far as mechs go. So how does Fen plan their attack?
I think maybe not knowing these ruins super well, I think with that kind of good first view of everything, they can see a good little path that has a lot of cover that they can get kind of close enough. Also watching its movements. I'm thinking, since you're on time, are you watching the movements? I go full stealth in that game. So this is the approach that I'm taking, is seeing kind of where the paths would intersect and getting right up in there and essentially going from a more stealthy ambush type thing.
Perfect. So as you kind of approach, you do have that lay of the land from your former role, but as you start to get closer, stealthing becomes more and more difficult. If you'd like to stay in stealth, I'd like you to roll an actual Gale's challenge for me.
Okay.
I will say that because of your epic success, you do get an additional die for your pool.
Okay.
So this will be a Gale's challenge too. You're pretty familiar with how these machines work, so it's not a very difficult challenge. And actually, I do have the cards to show the audience, but I'm very, like I said, I want to show you what it looks like.
This is
a Gale's challenge of 2, which means that you will need 2 successes in order to succeed. So if you could go ahead and roll your dice pool, if you have anything you'd like to add to it. You have a base of 3 plus 1 for your epic success.
I would kind of like to not really argue, but potentially I have a talent called Down to the Wire where it's all about quick reflexes and quick wit, acting well under pressure.
Okay.
Could I add that?
Do you feel pressure in this situation?
Not pressure, but I feel like it's more of a ready for anything.
I would say that if Fen is not really feeling pressured at this point, then it might not be the best suited for the time. But I do like your thinking there.
Okay. Worth a shot.
Yeah, always is.
Alrighty, so I'm gonna go 46.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, that is a little bit rough, in that there are no successes there at all. There are 2 strikes, which is a bit of an interesting development. Ones are related to strikes, which on the die appear like that. So, as you're getting closer, and you are getting closer through this kind of covered area, there's a piece of metal. It's like a metal rod, and they are occasionally found around the area, but you didn't see it before your foot kicked it. And it clatters, and suddenly the mech looks at you. And oh, hey, thank you, Potato Hollow, for gifting a donation to Monocle Society. So, Monocle Society, you can choose to use that how you will. And so as the metal clatters up on the ground and the mech swings its head at you, it also launches itself at you.
Yay!
And it is brutal in its initial attack. It has these like essentially like metal jaws that are swinging up and down and are dangerous themselves, but then it also is just like has this like lashing tail to it, and it when it kind of launches at you, it just tries to latch onto your shoulder. Can you describe how Fen looks for me, please?
So Fen is not a large person, but I describe them as kind of like solid. They're used to kind of small spaces and moving, not like super stealthily, but being able to get in and out of tight spaces. And their left arm is the one that is more mechanical, and it is from about 2/3 of that arm, which is more, it's less like a hand and more like hooks. It is made to be a weapon, and that is it. So other than that, their armor is kind of piecemeal, but it moves well. And yeah, other than that, kind of like messy dark hair and very like weathered appearance. Not like super dark skin, but definitely been out in the sun a lot. Yeah, that's about it.
So when this machine like barrels into you, that armor on your arm does protect you to some extent from the damage it could do, but it does bash into you pretty strongly, and just the blunt force of it is a bit overwhelming for a moment, and you realize that hurt. Effectively what this is you will take a strike for this scene. So you have 3 strikes per scene. If you were to get all 3, your character would effectively go unconscious with the potential for death. It's fine. This is just the first session. And yeah, that hurt. But now you're in your element. What does she do?
After this initial kind of shock, it's like, that's not going according to plan, but it just goes into like fight mode, which is the other thing I didn't really describe is like, while the left hand is more like for tearing, the other one is almost like brass knuckles. So I think the first swing would be like a like back off, kind of like across the thing's jaw, effectively, like get a little bit of space, but more for like upper hand kind of thing, and just we're going at it.
Perfect. Okay, now in the midst of this fight, I would like you to roll me a stones challenge for this attack.
Okay.
Now, I understand Fen is a character with a stone suit build.
Indeed.
So for each character, they have a suit that is kind of their specialization. Each of them has a different specialization. Fen is stones. So what that means is for a challenge that matches their character's suit, they will be able to add a die to their base pool of 3, along with the additional talents that they feel would be applicable for the situation. Talents or items or whatever you argue is best suited?
Well, at this point, I can definitely use this kind of weaponry that I have at my disposal. I think because I had that kind of combine with the spear item
Yes.
being more effective against mechs. And also is it just talents or is it just like background stuff in general?
Anything you argue from your character sheet that you feel can be most applicable here.
Okay, I've got a couple other things. I've got this background that is all about breaking machines apart. The flavor text is they can't die, but there's a way to take them down, and you've always enjoyed the challenge. Walked away from fighting mechs bruised and battered, but you've walked away. All the mechs never walked again. So
You're already feeling the bruised and battered part of
I'm
that a little
feeling
bit
that.
right now.
Yeah, and also the talent wired up being also lifting metal and breaking machines apart. She's going full like rend mode. So
Okay.
that's another 3.
Yeah, that puts you at 7, I believe. So the max dice pool is 6, but that extra to make it 7 will allow you a reroll on a fail. So if you could roll me 6d6, you are looking for stones, which we have equated to 4s or 6s.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
2 4s and a 6. So if you could re-roll that 6, please.
yes.
Okay. So no epic success in this situation, but you do pretty much blow this out of the water. So can you describe to me how you take this mech down?
I think the initial like punch kind of got this thing looking away from them, and then from there just taking the kind of claw-ish arm and just knowing exactly where this thing's kind of weaker spots might be, where it's more wire than like metal plating, going straight for there and just like immobilizing this thing.
Yeah. So as soon as you kind of get your spear-like arm in there, because the item was initially a spear that can more powerfully, it's made from mech parts, and so it can tear through mech armor. But we've reflavored that for your arm, so as you like, basically you can reach in and take this thing's core out. It's right in front of you. It walked right into this. It just didn't know what it was doing. And that arm reaches in, rends the metal apart, and you feel like the core in your hand. It's this orb of sorts, kind of like it's glowing, but it has hookups that connect within the mech. All mechs have them at the center of the like armor and the machinery that surrounds them, as is their core. And within moments of this mech spotting you and attacking you, you have taken out its power source and rendered it useless. And the shell of the machine falls to the ground. You see the light fade from the lens where it sensed you, and you're left with just a pile of machinery. This mech is no more.
It's kind of standing there like, okay. And also like a bit of pride, like I did that well. And from there, I'm gonna just gather what parts might be useful, easily sold. What state is the core in? Like, is it a whole or is it damaged?
Oh, pristine, the way you just
Nice.
grabbed it out just now.
Okay. That's a pretty penny. So yeah, I think still like trying to be like quick about it in case anything else comes along, but grabbing useful things and hightail it out of there.
I just saw the show of hands in chat about if I would kill a character in the first episode. I just wanted to say thank you all for your faith in me. I so appreciate you. I would. But I don't have to because thankfully Finn is very skilled at what she does. So we're good. It's fine. No worries. Yeah. And so you are able to pack up the things that you need. You recognize the things that you were like that were requested, including like metal shards, which are essentially when you take the plates apart, just like there's armor plating all over these mechs, and if you like lift off the plating, people will carve it into whatever they need. So if you can get like clean plates, like size of a piece of paper, those will go for a decent price. And also just gears, which are in the joints of this creature, so you can find those kind of in the legs and in the tail. And as you kind of gather those, you also go ahead and basically you can scrap the other things aside from the core. Let's say that this is a brief intelligence check to just kind of like see what you can get from it. So that is a flames check, which means we're just looking for 1 success. And flames is 5s. So this is not a challenge, this is a check, meaning you do just get your base pool of 3.
Hey!
Okay, so unfortunately, no flames. But that's fine. I mean, there's just not a whole ton left on this creature to pull off that you feel would go for a good price. And that's okay. Not every kill has more than those kind of basic things. Some of them have more like complicated equipment. Some have wires that are occasionally go for a good sale price. But this just wasn't one of those situations.
Yep.
And you can gather those things and begin to head back. It's getting a little bit later in the day now. But you can probably make it back to town in time for the merchants to before they close their shops, so that you can get paid before the end of the day. And you do have to walk through a little bit of a forested area to get back to the town. And you hear a voice. It just says, "They're on the move."
Just kind of nods and keeps going. Pats a tree and just like, oh.
They're coming closer. Be safe. Be wary. Be cautious.
I can.
And you find your way back to the town. The merchants seem very glad to see you, and there's a man next to you at the stall who's kind of just like looking at the scrap parts that you're turning in, and he kind of nods and takes it all in for a moment and just sorry, did you do all that yourself?
Yeah. This afternoon. Saw one on my way in.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, to be honest. Not many people can take down a mech pretty handily, and the core intact. That's... wow.
It's a good day.
He reaches out a hand, and just looks you in the eye and says, the name's Jamathan. Can we talk?
I'll take the hand and be like, Finn, sure.
And with that, we will hop on over to Umiko.
Hello.
So, as I understand it, Umiko lives a somewhat peaceful life.
Yeah, she's on her own at the moment.
It's not far from a lot of towns, but you find your home is an area, I believe. Did you say what your family did?
They herd reindeer, or now it's just her, but they sort of herd reindeer, and she will be close to towns because she's got to take them to market and sell them.
Yeah. So they're definitely it's just kind of away from everything. Like there are places nearby, towns nearby. The closest one is Mellowary, and that's where you've been sent for this particular sales trip. But your family, can you tell me a little bit about the dynamics that you have with your family?
She never knew her mother, and her father disappeared in just search of things, in search of greater things for the family when they were very, very young. So it was her and her older brother for a very long time. And for quite a while, it was very much routine. It was wake up, see to the animals, see to themselves, go to market, come back. And one day she doesn't really know what it was because she was only around 10 at the time. But there was a darkness at night that she popped outside just for a moment to check on Grund, a stag that she'd raised from very young. And her brother came out to find her, and there was something in that darkness, and it took him while she was trying to run away from it. So now it is just her. From around the age of 10 or 11, she's done this on her own.
Their reindeer ranch, as it were, is settled near a somewhat of a vacation spot, as Umiko has the background home by the sea, which is the ranch is located near a body of water where a lot of people pass through looking for relaxation and vacations. And so as she's going about her daily tasks, one of her neighbors kind of flags her down. Umiko, and you recognize this as, she's a bit of a busybody. She's a next door neighbor. She always has a bit of gossip. She's always fascinated by the people coming through, but she doesn't get out much herself. She just kind of like waits for the stories to reach her instead of going to find them herself. Thank you so much, Avery, for the subscription. That has gifted a reroll to Julie. So, oh, and also we hit 12 followers, but I do want to kind of follow up on the last trinket that was rolled, since it was for Alice and we're just now getting to Alice's scene before we roll for the next one, which will be going to Julie. If Julie, actually, if you want to go ahead and drop a 1d100 into roll 20, and then we'll get to it when we hop back to your section of the story. So she kind of flags you down, you know, kind of over near the fence where the reindeer are kept, and she's just kind of like, Umiko! And
Umiko is just like brushing down this stag and then like ducks her head behind it, like, oh god, smile, Umiko, smile, and just pops up her head like, Good day. How are we this morning? Evening? What time is it? And she sort of like heads over towards this fence.
Hi, how are you, sweetie? Doing okay?
Yes, I'm doing fine, thank you. Just, the normal stuff, running errands, seeing to Brund. Everything okay with you?
Yes, things are going so well. My son is home for just a few days and I'm loving him being here, but he just had some interesting news and I just thought, you usually go in every few days to sell the reindeer and I wondered if you were going into oh, goodness gracious, where do we live? Mellowary tomorrow morning.
I am. Yes.
No way. Okay, this is so
Yes.
perfect then.
Yes.
Okay. So he tells me that the machines are getting closer to the towns.
Closer?
Closer. Can you believe it?
I guess. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Oh, bad.
Oh,
Oh, definitely bad. Oh, I can't imagine. Oh, can you just imagine a machine coming through here? This is a peaceful place. We don't deal with that sort of thing. But wow. Oh, well, picture me shocked when I heard that news. But here's the thing. He hears that there are some people who want to do something about it. And I'm not saying that I could really do a whole ton, but he's hoping to find some people in Mellowary who would be interested in protecting the area. You see, we have a nice place here. Don't want any mechs coming through and just messing up my flowers, you know?
I know. I just sell reindeer, and I don't know what I can do.
Oh, I know, sweetie. I just wanted to see if maybe while you were in town, you could maybe see if there's anyone talking about it, maybe get a little bit more information that you could bring back here and just share with me and just see if
To eavesdrop for you?
eavesdrop, ask around. That's not so hard to ask a few questions, is it?
I guess I could.
Oh, don't worry at all if you don't hear anything. It's not a huge deal, but if you do, I am making meat pie tomorrow, and you would be absolutely welcome to a big slice for dinner.
Thank you very much. I often enjoy that pie of yours.
And as she's just like nodding and just like smiling, she just says, well, travel safe. If the mechs are getting closer to town, your trip might get more and more dangerous, and I wouldn't want anything happening to you like it happened to all of your poor family members.
She sort of stops and looks at her for a second. It's okay, I've got Brund, and sort of like taps him as he sort of walks over. Like, you'll get me out of anywhere quickly.
And she just kind of nods and she's like looking at the stag like a little bit. She never really knows what to do with the stag because it's not quite the same as talking to a person and it's a little bit intimidating. I mean, it's pretty big. And so she's just kind of like, still kind of looking at you, but her eyes dart occasionally up to your stag. And she just kind of says, well, be careful. That's all I can say. And if you hear anything about, a force protecting the area, or maybe a couple people could just come out here and make sure there aren't any nasty mechs in the area, that would just be great.
Uh-huh. She doesn't. I'm sure I'll ask some questions for you, maybe, if I find anyone, if there is anything at all.
Thanks, Umiko. You are such a doll. And then she just kind of like waves a little bit and just kind of like grabs these, like, she has like way more skirts than is at all necessary, and so she has to like, it's like a fancy dress, and really she's not going anywhere. She never goes anywhere. If anything, she just kind of like walks around so that people will see her in fancy clothes. And then she just kind of like, so she like kind of hikes up her skirts and just like trounces back to her house just a few yards away. And you're left alone with your stag and your reindeer.
Yeah, she sort of looks at Brund and like puts a hand either side and like ruffles the side of his face, saying, "We've got to go find out some more information for the crazy lady again." Again. Always again. So that pie is not worth it, but maybe you can have it this time.
What do you do when you normally go into town?
She normally saddles up Brund and literally the phrase rides him into town. And she normally takes maybe 3 or 4 of the reindeer with her.
And thank you, Monocle Society, for deciding that your reroll will go to Fen. So, perfect. So as you're kind of packing up, something does catch your eye. Now, it's easier to leave in the morning and be there when the market's open. It's an early trip. It means getting up before the sun rises. And it's always a bit of a hassle because it's not quite in line with the rest of your schedule, even if you do get up in the early morning to tend to the reindeer in general. It still is a couple hours earlier than you would normally rise. So you always try to prep in advance, and as you do, you see this small wooden puppet. It's old, and it's kind of, actually, you haven't seen it in a long time, but it's something that you've had for quite some time, actually since before you turned 10. And it is, first off, a trinket from the list, but second off, it is, you recognize it as the gift your brother gave you for your birthday before he disappeared. It's been tucked away for quite some time, but as you're going through trying to find some of the supplies that you need, you come across it.
And she sort of reaches down and holds it up. Oh, hello again. And sort of moves some of the limbs to see if they still bend effectively and everything like that.
They do. It has kind of like ball joints in it. And so it's very, very simple little marionette doll. Not a marionette, that's not the right word. It's like a,
I thought you meant.
Thank you, I'm glad. But it's like one of the drawing figures, basically. It's like a little wooden doll.
Yeah, she's holding it. And she looks back and down into like this box full of absolute just chaos of a mess of things she does need, things that have been there before she was on her own and doesn't really know what they are. And she's got about 3 or 4 belts wrapped around her middle, and she just looks at it and then just tucks it in to the belt. So, let's give you an outing, shall we? And she'll grab her water skin and staff from beside the door.
Do you usually get any sleep before you head out to sell your reindeer in town?
She never sleeps before she goes to sell the reindeer, just because she's paranoid she's going to forget something, and she just knows that she wants to. She'll sleep when she gets back.
Yeah. Oh, and thank you, Kit Battlebeard, for the raid. Thank you so much for hopping into our adventure. Yeah, absolutely. You can get a good start. And it is, I mean, this is a difficult walk, and a lot of the time that you spend walking is in darkness. Now, there are several things about the darkness that are more dangerous. For one thing, mechs and pitfalls, dangers of that kind, are more difficult to see. However, on the flip side of that, mechs have telltale signs that are more evident at night. A couple of them have lights. Their lenses themselves actually are quite noticeable, and create a light that can be kind of seen from a distance. From far away, it could look as harmless as a firefly, but up close, it could be as bright as a lamp. However, it's a perilous trip. Could you go ahead and roll me a perception check, which will be using Gales? So we're looking for 2s and 6s with a base pool of 3 dice. Okay. So as you are walking, you don't see them until they are very close. This is closer than you have ever seen mechs be to your trail before. Usually you can see them off in the distance, but if they don't see you, they won't generally harm you.
Yeah, she sort of pulls back Brun briefly, just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And tries to just see if she can not edge round them, but just go slightly off the path so that they don't have to get too close.
Yeah. You see these 3, and they're kind of like, they're smaller mechs. They're small, kind of monkey-like looking creatures, and they're kind of hanging from some of the trees and gesturing to each other with like these, it's very mechanical and robotic, but with these kind of like squeals and beeps, and their lights kind of flash as they're looking around the area. There are 3 of them kind of huddled in the branches together. They don't see you yet, but you are closer to them than you would have liked to be.
Yeah, she sort of takes her staff just slowly off her back and holds it the other side of Brun so they don't see it so much.
As you try to kind of pull away from the path, could you roll me a Gale's challenge of 2, please? And if you, yes. Okay. Did you have any talents that you would like to try and add to the pool, or no?
I don't think she does, really. In any
Okay.
Oh, no, not probably while she's got the reindeer.
Okay. So as you, so you do roll 1. Which is good. At least it's not like an epic fail or anything. And so as you're kind of pulling away, you step on a twig.
And she's visibly just like...
And that's all it takes, that one split second where the wood cracks. And all 3 of them look toward you. Frozen still, watching you. They're no longer chirping. They're no longer swinging. And for a moment, none of them move. What do you do?
Can I use one of my talents now that they've done that, or how does that work?
Yeah, what talent would you like to use, and how would you like to use it? Let's decide based off of that.
I would like to use Fade from Sight. Like, she would reach out into the air as if she's grabbing nothingness and just cloak herself over and disappear.
Yes. Okay. So as they are watching you, you reach out to grab the magic that pervades the world and wrap it around yourself like a blanket. And it does, in fact, block you from view, as you find that you can't even see yourself, though you know where you are. And no one else can see you either. And when you disappear, one of them chirps, and another swings forward to where you were just moments ago and looks very closely at your reindeer and leans in. Its lens is shining bright as it just looks around. It scans the area. It looks at your reindeer again, and there's a small mechanical chirp as it turns and swings back to the others, and they seem to go back to whatever they were doing or chatting about, or whatever it is machines do when they're hanging from machines in the middle, from the trees in the middle of the night. Like, it's a party. It's a real party, and they start making noise again and moving around, and you find yourself cloaked as you can kind of back away from the scene and the path. And really, truly, the most rattling thing about this is how close you were to home when it happened, and how close they were to your home.
And she sort of leans down to Brund as they sort of go back. She's like, come on. Like, just sort of offers some sort of comforting urge for him to move on. And she can't help but just like shudder slightly. And once they're out of sight with that shudder, she'll sort of shake off this invisibility sort of cloak of magic.
Perfect. You can, after that, you do end up continuing on to town. It's just hard to shake the fact that they are definitely closer than they have ever been before. And with that, we're actually going to take a quick break. We've wrapped all of our character vignettes, and so I'll be back in just a moment. I'm going to run to take a quick bio break.
That's awesome. We can chat like characters and stuff, I reckon.
Yes, have fun, or like
Yeah.
what you like about me, how you built the character, the process, anything. It's fine. I don't have a say. Do whatever you want.
How is everyone finding it so far? And like,
Oh my gosh, this is so cool.
and like with the actual character creation process.
Yeah, I think it'd
love
be
it.
cool to talk about the character creation process a little bit. It's really
Yeah.
fun and odd. It's different.
Also, like, this world is just like super cool. I just wanted to like take a second to acknowledge how fun this world is.
High fantasy tech. I'm like getting so many vibes of like Ghibli mixed in with just fantasy, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really loving it already.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, character creation is like, you know, it's Weave is such a fitting name for this system because it really does kind of feel like weaving, you know, like, right?
You have all these strands of like things that could be just characters themselves, but they become traits and they just kind of
Yeah, it weirdly all fits in
it's
together.
seamless, oddly enough. You're just like, I have all these, like, you still have choice in like the specifics and how they fit together, but it's so easy to make it all.
Yeah.
like-
So for chat, who wasn't part of that process, what we're talking about is you pick your like deck, like flames or gales or whatever, and then you get cards. You get like 4 cards drawn from the deck, and they have like features on them, whether that's like personality traits or skills or things like that, and it directs you to like pick 1 or 2 from this list, and pick 1 or 2 from this list, and pick 1 or 2 from this list. And so you get a couple of options, but you have like a specific set to pick from, and then from each card, and then you have to somehow build all of those like traits into a character backstory or character.
Yeah, and it tends to give you like an event kind of background thing that is vague enough that you can determine the details yourself. Like, I don't know, I had one where it was like something, I don't know, something hurt someone you loved a long time ago, and you get to pick exactly what those things are and where it happened and why. But it's...
As I say, I've got a character card, or a card, I can't remember whether it was a trait or a background, but it's physically changed my appearance as well. So I'm looking forward to, like, I think this is the thing now, because I enjoyed the process so much. I'm like, what did you guys pick? What did you like,
it's hard. I want to like read them aloud and be like, I did this and this and this and this is how I made this work together, and it's gonna be so fun, but it's like I don't want to spoil everything.
I feel like once we have like a couple, maybe that could be like our finales, like we could just sit around and share the cards.
Right?
Yeah. I love it.
Oh, yeah, definitely at some point I want to show like or talk about the cards that y'all specifically got, because it was really interesting to me. Like, I drew them with y'all in mind, and it just, some of them were so interesting, the pairings that happened, and so I really wanted to see like what y'all would pick from them and the characters you'd create, and I'm already loving them. I'm already excited to see what is in store for them. Oh my gosh, and we hit 20 retweets. That's fantastic. I'm gonna roll another D4.
Oh my gosh.
I don't even think I've retweeted this yet. I was gonna like, I started like drafting something about like, oh my gosh, it's my first time running a long form streamed game, and then I didn't finish it. So
we're loving it. So
oh, thank you.
It's going
My heart
so
is racing. Oh, okay. That is
characters now, like physically, if I could.
yeah, we'll work on that. Okay, that is another one for Julie.
So many goodies.
Yeah, so if you could roll me another 17, that's a very early on number too. Okay.
What are the odds?
It makes it really easy for me, I'm not gonna lie. It's like, that was why I didn't, the other one I was like, I can't scroll away from this one or else I'll never find it again. But then it's just, I'm already on both of them at the same time. So, okay. Welcome back. I'm back. I also got a bottle of water, and I'm gonna take a quick drink of that too. Wow, this is so much fun and so much nerves. So much nerves.
I'm going to get more water.
You're doing awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned it. I definitely, I've run some things before, but I've never done anything that's like a long form stream. So there are definitely some things that I didn't feel like I quite had prepared today that I will next week, because I've learned from this week on what to do next week. So I'm really excited about it, and I'm really excited for all of the shows in Scrat Season 2. Gosh, I wish I could just hand this through the camera.
I know,
I really one of you for help with this water bottle.
I'm so good at opening water bottles, it hurts, like, you know, watching. I'm just, my hands have that magic grip. Like I have like super glue on my fingertips or something.
This is like not even a strength challenge too, and I can't do it.
It's not always a matter of strength. Sometimes it's just the grip, you know.
Success. Okay. Gosh, that took so long. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, so let me see. We'll wait for Julie to get back really quickly and then start tying some things together. I've really enjoyed like getting little glimpses into all of your characters too. So thanks for making some really interesting and creative stories from these cards.
Yeah, no, that's like the most, I think that's like what sets Weave apart is, you know, like D&D, you can just like do whatever you want with your character, but like the restrictions definitely open things up in a weird way. Like it opens up your mind to.
Makes you get more creative, I think.
Yeah. That's.
It's really good.
It was also like the rules are fairly straightforward, and I'm really excited about that because since this was my first long form stream game. Oh, and I should also say long form game that is not D&D. This is a long form lot of things. This is also the first one that I've run that isn't for like just a small group of my close friends. I just met Jay earlier tonight. Isn't she wonderful? I'm so excited. Okay, anyway. This is a landmark for a lot of reasons. And so anyway, like we've just really stuck out to me as something that was accessible and intuitive, especially from like the storyteller side of things, to like feel a little bit less like the rules for the basic standard edition, which is what we're playing. There's also an advanced version for some of the play sets that you can get a little bit more like into the rules of how talents affect the dice. But this was just like really intuitive for me. I only had to learn like 15 pages of rules instead of like 1,500, which is a slight over exaggeration. But some rule books have that many pages, and it's terrifying. So I was really glad to find something that would be like a little bit easier for me to learn. And I'm still learning. Like I'm still going to be checking things between sessions, but this has been like a really breathable game for me, and for character creation, like you said, I think it affords a lot of interesting possibilities. That's intuitive in ways that you don't expect it to be. So, okay. It is now dawn. You see the sun drifting up lazily over the horizon. Umiko, you arrive in town just as the sun is starting to come up, and just as a few merchants are starting to open their stalls. You have a merchant that you deal with pretty regularly when you make these trips into town to sell your reindeer. And in the square at the same time, there's a troop of about 20 people. And they're all kind of ragtag, and it's hard to put like a finger on what they're there for, because they seem to just be a variety of people. And Fen, the man you met at the market yesterday, he talked to you about joining this little expedition, this band of 20 or so people that he has gathered to face the oncoming mechs. He's gotten word of a group specifically that seems to be coming directly towards Mellowary. And while he's heard that there are other towns who've experienced mechs getting closer and closer, he's worried that this is a coordinated attack on their part, as if they have a party of machines that is making its way into town, and that is unusual to say the least. And he's recruited a good number of people who are concerned, who are concerned about the well-being of the town and their livelihoods and their families, who want to stop it before it happens. And he asks if you would be interested in joining, and gave you the information on where to find this gathering.
Fen's definitely there.
Skylar, you had the note from the salesperson you met the other day. You had 2 days in Melisary before this meeting actually happened, but sure enough, it's right where you found them, and you see two people who look similar to the merchant you spoke to. One's a little bit taller than they were, the other's a little bit shorter, and they look like siblings. They just kind of elbow each other occasionally. They look quite a bit alike. And you get the sense that they're the two who are passionate about this cause, but also that your new friend is worried about. And Sierra, Jamathan met with you again to discuss your price. And as he said, he was willing to pay. The number you gave him, he was sure would easily be covered. And it's something that he understands that this is a little bit different. You do occasionally do group seminar. It's like a seminar. It's like a little brief seminar.
For sure.
But like one-on-one is really like that's what you make the most money on, is the one-on-one fortunes that you tell. And so he said, I know this is a little bit different than your seminars, but here's your asking price, and we'll see you in the morning. And so when you first wake up, this is also kind of actually fits into your schedule pretty well, because you wake up early to go tell fortunes for the day, and this is actually like right in that sweet spot before you actually have your first appointments. Can you tell me what you do to get ready for a fortune seminar like this?
Oh, well, Sierra has an extensive morning routine. So she starts with a bath, and she spends a long time brushing her gray locks that have like a nice wave and a bounce to them by the time she's done. Besides that, she doesn't wear any makeup or anything, but she meditates. You know, she has to clear the mind. She practices her intense, like, spooky fortune voice in the mirror, you know, that for when she has to get serious, you know, she needs to make sure she's prepared for that. But she practices her smile a couple times, and at that point she feels prepared enough to head out and do this group reading.
Sure enough, you get there, and I don't know, is it a surprise to you how many people actually showed up for this thing?
I guess considering like the size of the town, it's kind of surprising. But you know, the more people, the better. The more people she can spread her name to.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so true.
Yeah.
And so you arrive, and you know, you don't know them, but Skylar is in the crowd. Skylar, what did you do this morning?
I think she would have woken up. She probably did take the suggestion to stay in that smaller tavern, probably in a cheap space, maybe even in like a shared room space, or on a bedroll on the floor by the fireplace, whatever they were willing to let her do. She probably woke up really early and kind of made sure all of her things were in order, and I think she would have actually gotten to this spot really early and kind of like found a quiet space nearby to like watch everyone get there, to try and figure out if she could, like, how quickly she could identify these two siblings that she saw.
Yeah, so you find yourself as more like on the edge of the group. You don't look like you're part of it. You're not in like that core group of people who's gathered in the square, but you're off to the side in a place where you can see everybody, and you can kind of now have eyes on these two they're not, I mean, they look young. They look like probably getting ready to leave home and strike out on their own type age. So a little bit the older side of young, maybe older teenagers. And also in the crowd there is Fen. Fen, where did you stay?
I feel like we might have run into each other at the inn, but very much like in brief passing, maybe not at the same time. I'm not sure, but definitely at that kind of out of the way inn. They could have just got a room to herself.
One of the things that she found in this room during her stay, there was a candle next to the bed. And the innkeeper kind of like walked into the room with you and like unlocked the door and gave you the little key and went over to the table side herself and lit this candle with a snap of her fingers. And she just kind of said, "It's only good for light, no heat. But it'll stay lit as long as you need it to. And I hope you enjoy your stay. If you need anything, please let me know." And this candle is very interesting. It's like you put like a little the word coming to mind is bushel over it, but I feel like that's good. This little Light of Mine song. I'm
pretty sure I can imagine it, but I don't know the word.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you can put like a little like cup over it, but the candle stays lit actually, and it doesn't like, you know, move, and it doesn't like light anything a flame. It just burns and creates this kind of like warm glow of light. And it's interesting. You know, the candle does not melt either. It's very weird. It's almost like it's off a trinket list.
Wow.
And yeah, so it burns steadily and creates kind of like a nice warm atmosphere to this place. And you have an early rise as well to get out to the crowd.
Probably like did some like tended to whatever bruise happened yesterday. Just like, ow, that's still okay. That's sore today, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, you had to put some like warm washcloths on it to kind of like ease the tension in the muscles from where you were attacked by the mech. And you find yourself the next morning standing in this crowd of people. And the person next to you kind of like nods and is like, "Hi, what brings you here? Good morning, good morning."
Hey, well, I imagine the same as you. I'm not so fond of these critters coming so close to town, so I'm rather well equipped to take them out.
Yeah. Oh, you look it much more so than me. I like trinkets. I'm a trinket type person. I'm actually I sell trinkets, but actually I have a couple of good luck charms. Where did I put them? And she starts kind of like rustling through her pockets, and she finally pulls out a little pouch and goes, "Aha! Here, take this for good luck."
Take a look at it.
With Dynama on our side, hopefully we all walk away okay. And like this little like orb, it looks almost like a little marble, but it's like, it looks also like a gem, but it has this like soft colored glow to it. It's very faint, nothing light. It's just a nice little good luck charm, and also something from a trinket list.
I love it.
And she kind of nods and she says, Good luck out there. It's all pretty exhilarating, isn't it? And then she kind of like bustles over to give like someone else a good luck charm as well. And the crowd kind of starts to hush. Umiko, you find yourself in the merchant's square, and it looks different than it usually does. The merchants are there, but they're all kind of watching this crowd as the hush falls over it. And there's nothing for you to do really, but just watch yourself. Even the people that like seem to recognize you kind of wave and like point to what is going on and just kind of like hold up a finger like they'll be with you in a moment after they see kind of how this pans out and what happens. And I also don't think that I actually had Umiko and Skylar describe what they looked like. Could you go ahead and do that for me really quickly? I built the others in okay, but then so as you're like standing out on this crowd, the two of you are kind of off to the side, not a part of that core group. What do you look like as you look on Umiko?
Umiko is quite petite, but she is fairly pale, but jet black hair that some would say plaited, others would say matted. She looks like she's stepped straight out of the ocean. She looks damp. She looks wet. Her hair is sopping wet. It's quite shiny, and on her skin you can see just like droplets sort of settle just here and there. And her clothes don't look damp, but her herself, her hair, her face, the rest of her does. And within her hair, that she thinks again she's plaited, it's definitely matted. Some of the small pebbles she's found by whatever water source she was by, and she's in fairly hardy clothes. She's in almost like overall type, like oversized. They're too big for her. She's holding them closer to her waist with like 3 or 4 belts, with all manner of things tucked in them, and a heavy coat that was once her brother's that she sort of, again, too big for her, wears, and huge heavy boots with some reindeer sort of, not fur, but yeah, sort of reindeer hide wrapped around the tops of them to keep them waterproof, funnily enough.
Perfect. And Skylar, you find yourself tucked away, kind of watching the crowd, watching the people that you've been asked to find. What do you look like on this early morning?
So Skylar is also fairly petite. She's probably like barely 5 feet tall. And she is dressed in a way that looks like everything about her is set up to blend in, where she's kind of got long brown hair that's in it's kind of in some braids, but it's kind of neatly tucked away out of her face. She's wearing like soft brown shirt and trousers that look like they're made of like sturdy, maybe canvasy kind of material, but that aren't really remarkable. The most notable thing about her is probably this large sack that she carries. She has kind of a very big bag with her that has lots of pockets, and you can kind of see things peeking out of the top. And I think she's kind of tucked away tucked away partially because like she looks very out of place. Mm-hmm. Like she looks like she's not meant to be in town. So like where she might not stick out in the woods, she definitely kind of probably sticks out compared to the people here.
Right. Yeah. It's an odd bunch out this morning, but they look like they're townsfolk for sure. And so there's kind of a hush that falls over the crowd, and Skylar, Yumiko, you look on. Then the group around you just kind of becomes still as a woman takes to the stage. Sierra, how did you dress for today?
For today's event, I wore my finest blue robes. They're especially thin, so you could see my bodily glow from the back of the crowd. And yeah, she's like super, super fancy clothes. Like it has maybe some gold embellishments and gems embedded throughout the material. They'll probably fall off throughout the day, but it's fine because I'll just buy more.
And the crowd is looking up at you expectantly as Jamathan introduces you. He said, "You may know her, you may have heard of her, but this is Sierra."
Hello all.
She gave you, yeah, everyone kind of like claps, and he like motions towards you in this kind of like grand gesture, and he says, "She gave me hope when I was in a dark time of my life, and we are about to face darkness today. Rising on the wild horizon, we see more and more mechs approaching our towns, approaching our homes, approaching our families. And we're not going to wait for them to come to us. We are taking a stand. We are going to protect the things that we love, the things that we hold dear. The things that I learned to hold dear in part because of the words Sierra shared with me. I hand this stage over to her to share words of encouragement as we face the wild horizon today." And then just kind of like, he steps back, like he doesn't quite exit the stage, but like goes back to a corner so that you can take center.
That was a beautifully inspired speech, Jamathan. Today we are gathered here with fear in our hearts, but I am here to ease those fears. As many of you know, I am gifted with sight of the future. Last night I pondered long and hard about the imposing threat of the mechs. And I have reached the conclusion that we will all be just fine as long as we believe in ourselves and we believe in each other and we support each other no matter what dangers may come our way.
Looks like we got a new friend!
Now, if you have the slightest bit of faith in me, then please believe me when I say that everything will be fine. Just fine.
And you see people reaching out to each other, kind of smiling at each other and nodding and just like affirming as you say each of these things. Some people in the audience are holding hands. Some people like share a quick handshake. There's just a moments of camaraderie as you share this encouragement and as you assure everyone things are going to be fine.
And also, your lucky numbers are 7, 14, and 32.
And then you hear a scream. And someone's pointing. Because down one of the main roads, there is a large mech. It's feline in shape, and in the pale light of dawn, its lens is glowing.
Friend!
Two more stroll out of the alleys next to it. Jay, what were you going to say?
Friend, come join us in celebration.
Unfortunately, the mech does not respond very well to that. Or rather, it does. It lunges for the square, and everyone present begins to scream. Several people quickly overcome their surprise, and they rally. There are several people with pitchforks and torches, and their attacks are valiant if ineffective against these mechs, especially as more and more of them start pouring into the square. You all see this happen. This is strange. This has never been heard of before. What do you do?
How many are there?
There are 3 down the main road, but as you look, you start to see more creatures down other roads. Different shapes, different sizes. A lot of them are animalistic in nature. For instance, Umiko, behind you, you see down the road a ways some of those monkey-like mechs that you had seen before, just a few hours ago, actually. And they are swinging and kind of like galloping down the road to where people are in the square. You see people who are ducking out of their homes, looking at the street and then like slamming the door shut and barring it. You see others who see mechs in the streets and they start running for the edge of town as quickly as they can. This valiant group of 20 or so fighters rallies themselves against the oncoming horde.
I think Umiko, one of the first things she does is quickly just cut the reins on the 3 reindeer she has with her, and sort of gives them like a slap for them to just run.
They do. They sense the danger, and they start running past the most, I guess it's the most like clear path as they run towards the edge of town.
She'll grab Brund and probably start to, if there's anyone who's still stood in the square, start backing up to almost join this mass to stay like sort of safety in numbers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are the 20 in number. That they're a little bit more spread out now, but definitely you feel safer in like a core group of fighters than you did in like the edge of the square. It was more exposed there, and people like metal clashes on metal around you, but so far nothing has reached you yet.
And I think Skylar is gonna dive into the crowd to get close to the children of the merchant that she said she was going to keep an eye on.
Yeah, you do, and they are fighting ferociously. They actually have some more weapons than some of the others who are here today on their side. They look prepared. They look battle ready, and they are just like, you see them take down a mech, and they're kind of like hooping and hollering and just like living on this thrill as they turn as a team to face the next mech coming their way. And you too can watch all of this happening all around you. You see someone go down with a wound to their shoulder as someone else comes over and stabs the mech with literally just a staff. It's like, it looks like it was broken off of a broom, but it's just like a wooden stick, and like pushes the mech away. But this person is bloody and wounded on the floor of the square.
I've taken off towards the closest thing, and for the record, when Fenn's just kind of standing in this crowd beforehand, there's a way to kind of like fold up the sharper bits of this arm, but as soon as like it's fight time, there's like a button to like kind of like a pocket knife almost, where it'll just like spring open and just going at it.
Perfect.
I don't know if this is a signature move time or not.
No, that's actually, I don't know if we talked about it, but each of these characters has an incredible signature move, and the way we're going to be working with those is you can donate at the $10 tier to either get a roll on the trinkets list or unlock a character's signature move. So they can like keep track of when they have their signature move available, and then you can see what they are, because each of them are unique for the different characters, but also get some epic moments out of it. So yeah, definitely this is your rodeo, Fen. Like, you see that cat-like mech down the street, and you're moving before most of the people around you. And you find yourself engaged hand to hand with this mech, and we will get back to that in just a moment. A metal to metal, hand to hand, metal to metal. And Sierra, what is your response to this?
Sierra immediately, once she sees that things are taking a turn for the worst, gets as far away from the center of this platform or wherever she's standing in the middle of this crowd. She gets as far away as possible and tries to hide in a corner. Yeah, she's trying to hide her face, because she's very embarrassed.
You are you trying to hide behind something?
If there's like a building nearby, I'm gonna try to duck into the building. Okay. If not, then I'll try to like hide behind. If it's like in the merchant area, right? So I can try to hide behind a cart or something. Yeah.
Yes, so the first door that you try is bolted shut, and you get the sense that you saw some people too who like poked their heads out, saw what was happening, and like bolted their doors quickly. And so you try the door and it's bolted shut, but you see a stall right there, easy to dive behind, and you find yourself covered as now the sounds of metal tearing and the sounds of flesh tearing in this square. The battle is in full swing. Fen, could you go ahead and roll me a Stones Challenge 2 against this mech?
Okay, can I use all the same stuff as last time?
You can, yeah. Your pool would be like 5 for that, so that's pretty...
Yeah, because it was 7 last time.
Oh yeah. It was 7. Yeah. Go for it. And we're looking for 4s and 6s.
Okay.
Very nice. Okay, so you have 2 6s, which means you get 2 rerolls.
Nice.
Blowing away the stone challenge. That is an epic pass. Yes, so long as it is 2 higher than what the challenge requested. Good. I mean, go ahead. I mean, explain to me. I think this applies not just to this mech, but the next few that Finn is facing.
I think kind of Finn's going for the bigger threats.
Yes.
So these more cat-like kind of agile ones.
And they're large, like lion look like cats, so they're definitely some of the larger mechs in the scene.
So I think at first she's mostly going for like trying to disable them, maybe not like outright like take them out, but go for legs, go for like try and just make them not be able to move towards people. So maybe that would be a way to like take out more of them, like that being kind of the immediate threat, them being able to move.
Yeah. I think that is very effective on a number of mechs that Fenn faces. And unfortunately, there are mechs coming from a variety of directions, but these feline mechs seem to be the most dangerous thing. A couple of the trackers you see coming in, and the trackers are also somewhat smaller in size. They're about half the size of these large cats, and the trackers are at about like waist height to most people, so still, you know, decently sized, bigger than some of like the monkeys and smaller mechs that are appearing in the square. You see some that are like avian in a way, and they're much smaller, but also fairly vicious as they like swoop down on the crowd. And you are able to take out most of these larger mechs as you just like you prepare the scene and you wield your skill in a deadly for mechs type way.
Nice.
Skylar, you see this person go down. Umiko, they're not far from you either. This person is bleeding, and it looks like they have quite a wound to their chest.
Are they still being attacked?
Someone else drove the mech away from them with their little broomstick, but yeah.
Seeing that the two she was supposed to be keeping an eye on seem to have themselves handled pretty well at the moment, Skylar would immediately run to the person who was down.
Okay. You do. And there's blood everywhere. They are kind of taking staggered, slow breaths, rattling a bit. And they look up at you like they weren't expecting anyone to stop in the midst of all of this.
And Skylar would try to heal them, because that's what she does.
Okay. I think that this would be an intelligence check.
Okay.
Which would actually be, we'll say it is, for your skills, a Flames Challenge 2. Let me grab the card out. If I recall correctly, Skylar is a Flames character.
Yes.
Perfect.
And
So,
She is literally built for this. um, so I get one extra. So I'm up to 4 because it's my suit, right? And then I also have my Bago plants, and I know what plants can harm and what can heal, and all sorts of varying effects. So can I use that?
Yes.
And then I don't know if it's talents and backgrounds that you can use.
Whatever you feel is applicable to this situation. So really, anything on your character sheet, you could argue could give you a boon here.
And so I also have Not Death's Day, which is that where magic stops, skilled healers have stepped in. I've studied anatomy and medicine to treat illness, tend wounds, and save lives.
Okay. Yeah, that will apply as well.
And I can also, I don't know if we haven't learned too much yet about the magic in this world, but I also can use Dynama to moderate effects. So I think she would pull out all the stops every time.
So this is interesting because Dynama has some flexibility, but with Skylar's card, it's actually one of the things that she is kind of has some skill with. So if you could explain to me how you use Dynama in your healing, which Dynama is very flexible. Dynama has, it's found pervasively in the world. It's like a layer of lights and magic over the existing world that only some people can see. But more people than that can draw from it. And it's powerful and it's flexible in its use. So if you could explain to me how Dynama plays a role in your healing, I will allow you a pool of 6 dice total plus a reroll for that 7th skill.
So I think, so based on some of my other skills, that suggests that Dynama kind of reacts to people. I think for Skylar, and Skylar can see it kind of reacting to people and interpret those things. I think one of the ways she interprets those is that it helps her kind of see inside the body. So she can actually see almost like special vision using the Dynama. She can interpret like where there's damage internally that you wouldn't be able to tell from the outside.
Okay, so like seeing where the Dynama reacts around the body kind of thing?
Yeah, so it like bounces around the body and she can see where there's holes where it's not there anymore. And
yeah, I like that. Absolutely. Okay, go ahead then and roll me a pool of 66, and then you'll also have 1 reroll of a failure.
I don't know what I'm aiming for.
You are aiming for 2. Oh, flames are 5s.
5s.
Yes.
Okay, so I just have 1, so I get another roll.
Yes, you do. Okay. Good.
Barely.
Yes. that is a barely. And so, sure enough, this is kind of like you are able to stabilize this person with your skills, and part of the I guess ramifications of this close call is like you feel sure that this person will keep breathing. And as you kind of smile to yourself, knowing that your work is done and that they will survive, you see someone else go down a few feet away from you. And then you look up and realize that that's not the only person who's fallen in the span of time that you were helping this other person. Umiko, you see Hildy in the background doing something very silly. You see people falling around you. Left and right, these people were not equipped for mechs. In fact, honestly, the person who looked most equipped to handle mechs is this like complete badass on the other side of the square, like taking down a number of mechs and has like a mech made arm basically, and mech armor, and just looks like totally tearing up these machines. But the rest of the folks, not only were they like not prepared, is like they weren't prepared this morning. Like they were setting out later today. They didn't even have all of their weapons with them for this rally. They've worked with what they've gotten. And you saw several people literally take apart a merchant's stand to fend off these creatures. Just with scraps of wood.
Where are these creatures coming from now? So if Fen is taking out the big ones, are there any of the what's sort of around?
Yes. So there are a number of avian mechs that are kind of swooping down from the sky. It's hard to get a count on them because they'll like swoop in and then back out and just like peck at someone and then like swoop away to the other side of the square. You see a couple of like the monkey-like mechs. And then you see down some of the other squares, there are these like the trackers, which are mid-sized and like humanoid is not the right word. Raptors wouldn't be a bad word for them though. They kind of like stand up and have tails and are like swinging into the square as well. But at this point though, they're coming from most of the side streets.
I think Umiko will jump on her stag and run towards these broken sort of bits of merchant stalls and all of the other mechs that are coming from effectively behind them. She's going to start trying to just block their path, even if it gives them a second, like pulling these bits of wood and like whether there's carts or anything, she's starting to push them across their path.
Yeah. You push some of these stalls in the way of the streets, and it fends off some of these like small trackers because they don't have a lot of mobility. It's hard for them to like get over things, and so they just kind of like end up bashing themselves into them as they try to like slowly beat their way into the square. But you've pushed off this at least some of the pathways for those creatures into, they're not creatures, those mechs into the square.
Does this look like they're just going to keep coming and
it looks
stop them?
It looks like a wave of mechs in there's no other way to put it. You've never seen mechs like this before. Actually, you'll see them occasionally in groups like you did on the road here. Most often you'd see them alone, like the one that Finn faced just yesterday. You have never seen a movement like this.
Yeah,
no one has.
Will start shouting. She's like, "We've got to run. There is no that they're coming from every direction, and people are just dropping." Like, and she's sort of shouting that from the top of this stag as she runs around the group.
Okay. You all hear Umiko's rallying cry from astride her stag as she kind of is making her way around the square. Sierra, you've ducked behind one of the stalls, and Umiko pushed it away in front of one of the streets to block off some of the mechs oncoming, which left you vulnerable yet again. And then she hopped on her stag and is telling everyone to run.
at that point, Sierra's kind of like, okay. I guess I cannot hide any longer. Everyone remain calm. Everyone remain calm. Walk, do not run.
Not work.
Follow the lead on the stag.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Some people they hear you say walk not run and they immediately break out running. Like there's just like gut reaction, like they go and like they start fleeing down some of the side streets. You see one run straight into a tracker which just kind of tramples it on its way into the town. Umiko, you're making your rounds, and you see Skylar. You look up to see this stag like running around the scene, and people are starting to take Umiko's advice. They are splitting, they are running, they are trying to find cover instead of continuing this fight. They know they're overwhelmed, they know they're outgunned. And they start ducking into buildings, into homes, and just like shutting themselves away and fleeing down the streets across town. And you see the two siblings that you were asked to watch. And they look up from the mech that they just took down. And it's kind of sparking limply at their feet. And they look up at Umiko as she has kind of rallied everyone. Everyone seems to be responding. They look at each other and they start following her.
And I think Skylar would know that there's not much she can't do anything for the people that are still here. They're down, and so she would follow after the siblings.
Umiko, do you once people start listening to you, do you guide a group away from the square?
I don't think she guides. I think she points in a direction and waits for everyone. Like, who are the last people that are there? I'm guessing Fed is still hacking at something.
Fen, the siblings who have just kind of like run to where you're at, and Skylar and Sierra. There are a couple of other people who seem unresponsive, but most people have gone down whatever street they were closest to.
Just like panting, looking around, seeing this like exodus of people. Either, I guess, like a bunch are following Umiko right now. I look around and go to try and like protect this party that is making a move. At least, I don't know, try and keep things like away from them.
Okay.
So anything that's following them from here, in the way, yeah.
So the two siblings kind of like nod to you, Fen, as you come up, and it's like, we'll flank if you could take the front. Stag lady.
Yes?
Can you call things as you see them? We'll try and make our way out of town.
Okay, and she'll just sort of charge off up ahead.
You charge off up ahead, and they stand on either side of this small group of people. And it's, you know, there are, I think, maybe 3 to 5 people. Let's say 5. There are 5 others with you as you kind of like make your way down this main street, which was mostly cleared out because that was where the feline mechs were coming from, and Fen took care of those easily. And You find yourself like making your way down very, very slowly. It's a group of people moving together, but once you're out of the square, you're not so surrounded by mechs. They have no easy way to get to you anymore unless they fling themselves back into the network of streets. And so you're finding this is easier and safer, and no one has fallen since you've left the square. And Umiko, could you roll me a perception check, please? 3 dice. Gales, we're looking for 2s.
Yay. So I can re-roll that one, can't I?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Umiko's not the best person to have up here, apparently.
No, okay, so actually, because it was just a check, though, you actually, and I actually got that wrong. I think that I may have been misquoting what I sent y'all, but Gales are actually 3s, and perception checks are Gales. So, you do succeed with that. And I also misspoke. I didn't see your roll yet, but so 3s, you have 2 3s, which is easily a success. And you look forward, and you see a mech unlike any mech you have seen before. It's not a cat. It's hard to actually pin something to describe it. It is a body, big, with this huge lens in front of it, and several smaller lenses lining the sides, up to 3 on each side. It's like 6 lenses and this one big one in the center, as these like four large, they're not leg-like, they have like joints in them, but there are enough of them that it makes it look more like insect legs, or akin to like tentacles with these like splayed claws at the end that just like crash into the ground. And it has guns loaded on either side of it. And it steps on top of one of the houses and is just kind of like lifted, poised above the street you are running down. And if you hadn't looked up, you might not have seen it. It's still dark outside, but this giant mech is looming right where your group is running.
She'll probably sprint or get Brun to Stag to just run for, like, she really pushes him into a canter, yelling at all of them, like, turn back, turn back. She's screaming at them, and she's probably calling back to Fen as well, seeing Fen and the twins. She's just sort of, we've got a problem. She sort of like is trying to like run to the front of this group.
You see several you see several people break off from the group as they see what you're running from. They look up and just like horror fills their eyes as they duck into some of the side streets, just trying to get away. These people scatter and flee. Sierra, how are you feeling right now?
Right now, Sierra is, she's terrified of these creatures, of these mechs, but more than anything, right now she's thinking, crap, they're gonna figure out that I'm kind of bullshitting. And she's concerned and she wants to help, but her mind just keeps racing with thoughts of they caught me. They're onto me. And all she can think to do is what can she think to do? So she can think to, she's gonna say, okay, that's it. You know what? I can't just sit here. That's just gonna make me look even worse. I gotta go out there and take responsibility for encouraging everyone to let their guard down. And I'm gonna try to distract this big, angry looking machine that looks like it's gonna hurt everyone.
Okay, how do you do that?
So I'm going to put my arms up so my arms are glowing and bright, and I'm going to shout, "Hey, you ugly machine, over here, leave them alone." And I'm gonna make sure that everyone can hear me saying that, just so that way they see that I'm helping out.
Sure enough, your little small group, Sierra's like in the back of it, near where Fen can kind of, Fen, I think they asked to kind of be up front. So it's like kind of at the, Fen, you can you hear this from behind you, this person just triumphantly almost challenging this giant mech before you, and you have never seen this mech before. You are familiar with a number of mechs. This one is new to you. And the siblings, Umiko is running back towards you. Sierra is crying out and just proclaiming that, to leave them alone. And Skylar, you see these siblings that they are just floored and just kind of exhausted by this moment. It's this okay, we could handle the smaller ones. They look up and there's a tired resignation as one of them just says, "Oh shit." And then you notice something else out of the corner of your eye. And you recognize it in an instant for what it is. Because you've seen the works of Dynama before, and you've seen these small miracles that it sometimes affects. Just off in a side street, there is a swirling of magic. And it swirls almost like a whirlpool full of emerald colors with lights dashing within it. Different colors like pinks, golds, blues. This deep emerald pool opens from nowhere. This was not there before. There's not just a random pond in the middle of this street. You see that flash of magic you recognize as this pool stretches into place. And you see the Dynama dancing around it.
Do I know if this is a good thing or a hurty thing? I think she's wondering is this something where she's gonna look at it and be that's to protect us, or she's gonna look at it and think that's to stop that thing?
Okay. Go ahead and roll me flames. Actually, let's just do this as a check. Let's say this is an intelligence check with flames of 5s, so 3, and we're looking for 5s.
Okay, and so even though if it's a check, do I still get to use my stuff?
For a check, no.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is just roll 3d6.
3d6, you're just trying to get one 6 or one 5. Okay.
Can I re-roll since I have them?
You can, yeah, absolutely.
Let's use both of them.
Okay. Okay.
But I also got a 1.
No, that's fine. It's fine because you got a 5, which means you succeeded and it didn't matter. So, you do know this magic that you've studied for so long. It's wild and unpredictable sometimes. It has so many varieties and comes in so many forms, but you've seen strange miracles from the Dynama before, and something in the magic, something in the world sensed the danger that you are in. And you have the sense that it is provided a way out.
And she's gonna grab whoever's nearest to her. No, she's gonna yell up at Umiko on the stag. And just be like, I know you don't know who I am, but we need to go that way!
I think Umiko stops, just like really pulls on these reins, and she's looking at this huge mech and this little old woman who's shouting at it, and the chaos that's going around, and just like, okay, I'm willing to try it, and just starts like running around and tries to start rallying everyone in the direction of Skylar. Just start.
And then Skylar's gonna literally physically grab onto whoever's next to her, near her.
It's the siblings, for sure. It's the siblings.
Can't wait!
Ah! Okay. And they like kind of stumble forward, and like literally the second that they hit the edge of this like emerald pool, they fall into it. Like as if there's a body of water under that was not there before, and there's a splash, and they are gone.
Umiko is trying to like, it's the only way she knows how. It's just like she's herding reindeer, but she's trying to do it with people. So it's probably not working.
And Skylar's not gonna jump into the pool after them. She's also like herding people, like, go, dive!
So you have a number of people left with you. Most others have scattered, but you do have Sierra and Fen and Umiko running back towards you.
Okay, so that she's yelling at them, dive!
Seeing nothing else that I can do, sure.
Yeah.
Is Sierra moving away from this thing, or are you still shouting at it?
So Sierra was shouting at it like, hey, look at me. And then when she saw everyone running and jumping into a magical pool and escaping, she kind of was like, I meant behind you. And then she's gonna run and jump into the pool.
I was gonna say, if she hadn't moved yet, Fen would be like, grab and go.
And so, yeah, you again, the second you hit this pool, it's not wet. It acts like water. It's like you splash into it and suddenly you're like surrounded by this emerald color with those like veins of color running through it, the slight sparks of light. And you see like a light above you as if there's a surface. And everyone else, do you make it to this pool as well, Fen and Umiko and Skylar?
I think Umiko, because she's riling people up, if those two are just left on the way out, she's gonna just canter up past them and grab them on the way and just sort of drag and jump all at the same time. It's this whatever it is.
And
Yeah.
as this reindeer leaps across her vision.
She's just grabbing them as she's holding on with basically just her legs, because she's just gonna grab Finn and Skylar and just drag them along at the speed she's going.
You all crash into this this pond of light and dynama, just concentrated and swirling. And the mech, a large arm, stands down into the street where you were just moments before, as the pond swirls shut again, and its lens just kind of scans the area, looking back, looking forth. And it can't find any of you. So it creaks as it gets up and puts another arm up on another building and lifts itself back up and starts traversing the town in hunt of those it might actually kill. All of you find yourself in this like swirling water that's not water. It's for some of you, if you have not seen Dynama before, you are now surrounded by it. And most people don't. Unless you have like specific the specific ability to see the magic in the world. Most of the time it's something you just know is there, and you see the effects of it, but never see it itself. And it's colorful, it's beautiful, it's awe-inspiring. And there's this like light above that looks like the surface of a pool, and you can see light shining in through water. And it's all just kind of above your heads as you're left suspended in this like water that's not water. Magic water. And thank you so much for Belchavez for donating 10 bits for the session. Thank you. We're glad it's been awesome.
I try like swimming. Does anything happen?
Yeah. No, you are able to kind of swim, and you like pull against this water, and as you all kind of work your way up to the surface, your heads break free in this, again, small swirling pool of magic. It's daytime. The sun is up, and you hear a few birds chirping in the trees. You've landed in an old ruin. There are a number of buildings towering around you, crumbling stone covered in ivy, but the Dynama has just opened in this space on the ground. And as you all kind of emerge, it swirls closed around behind you and leaves the now 6 of you plus a stag surrounded by these ruins, and one of the siblings goes, "Oh shit." And that's where we're gonna leave the session for today. Okay, thanks y'all so much.
I loved it. I loved it.
That
Really.
was so good.
That's so good.
Oh my god,
So-
this world though is crazy.
Ah.
It's crazy.
I love it.
Really quickly, just to go over kind of like the themes, and this is somewhat overall, so we'll have to kind of like, I'll have to come back to the boss card a little bit later on, but just in general, the storm card was the theme for today's session, and it was essentially what provoked the wave of mechs attacking the town, and then the gateway was the location for the episode, and that was the Emerald Pond, the whirling pool of Dynama that appears on a whim to those who need it, but doesn't appear to everyone all the time. And so it actually was a great 2 cards to work together, and I had a lot of fun writing this session. I'm looking forward to what happens next. Thanks y'all so much. Let's go around and kind of share who you are, where you can find you on the internet, what your favorite thing was about the session today, and maybe like we kind of talked about what you like about Weave. So either your favorite thing about the session or your favorite thing about the game. Let's start with, let's do the opposite of earlier. So let's start with Jay.
Hi. I'm Jay. Online, I go by Jagons Gold, so you can find me at Jagons Gold. And sorry, you said it was either our favorite thing about Weave was the
either your favorite thing about Weave or your favorite thing about the session today.
Right. Well, I definitely my favorite part of the session was like learning more about this mysterious world. I feel like there's so much to like discover. Like it just feels so magical and foreign, and it's really gotten me excited to learn more about it. So yeah, and that's me.
Perfect. Next we have Kelly.
Oh, hi. I'm Kelly, Kelly Lane on Twitter. Are we plugging too?
Yes.
So you can find me not just here on the Academy, but you can also find me on the Academy again Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. EST with the lovely Alice for our Curse of Strahd D&D 5e game. That we're in season 2 of that, and it is a hoot and a half. It's a weird game of Curse of Strahd. You can also, starting next, not this upcoming Saturday, but next Saturday, you can find me on Go West, a Pulp Cthulhu campaign on Wandering DM. This Sunday, you can find me on Off the Table for the Queen, with all of the lovely ladies at Off the Table. So, my favorite part. Okay, I really enjoyed our lucky numbers. That was a great flavor moment. Because I had to say something other than like I love this world that we're in, and getting to play around with it and getting to learn a little bit more about Dynama specifically. I think has been cool because I think it's a neat opportunity for kind of each character to interpret it in a different way, and being a character that actually like taps into it. I'm excited to play around with how she interprets that and how that relates to how she's going to use it, right? Because you can only use things in the degree of how you can imagine them, right? So I'm excited to do that in the future, and I think I've got a theory. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Julie.
All right. Hi, I'm Julie. I go by Jgrave Art pretty much everywhere. I'm not streaming a whole lot. This is my only game this season. But every now and then, I may show up on Off the Table for Adventures in the Wild Blue cameos. And I'm hoping that we get our other group back together for another season at some point. Gosh. I love being a badass.
Yeah.
That was very fun.
That's valid.
But besides that, I loved all of our little I loved introducing us all in our little vignettes, showing off kind of our kind of iconic bits of each of us before we met. I feel like a lot of games start just throwing you into it and you learn about each other very slowly, but this way we get to know a little bit about each other before our characters do. So I think that it gives us a couple more opportunities to test the waters with different characters.
Yeah, that's perfect. I'm glad. And who doesn't love being a badass? Alice, can we come back to you so you can kind of close out the episode? And I will go over where I am. Hi, I have been Renee, and always am Renee. or Rae, and I have been your storyteller for this game of Weave. Dynama is a playset that I am working on for the game itself. It has a number of playsets already published within the app for anyone who is planning on purchasing the game, because it's pretty darn cool. But yeah, I've been working on this one since PAX Unplugged, so I'm excited to kind of have moments to use it. I'm excited to see like what all they did with their characters, because like I recognize the talents that they took, but like seeing them in action was really cool and really exciting. You can find me a lot of places on the internet, including at RaeDeAnne R on Twitter and on Twitch at RaeDeAnne. I am actually having a channel launch next Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. I'm so excited. And so we'll have like a little birthday party, launch party thing, and we're gonna just like have a blast, eat some cake, play some Kingdom Hearts. So I'm really excited about that. And then I'm also on a number of other channels. I play on Nerd Immersion on alternating Monday nights, D&D Rise of Tiamat as Rid the Changeling Monk Warlock. I play on Encounter Roleplay, doing Call of Cthulhu on Tuesdays now, and that is a lot of fun. Beyond the Mountains of Madness. I just started that yesterday, so I'm very excited for where that goes too. It's gonna get creepy, it's gonna get weird. And then this game, which I'm so excited about, because as I've said, it's my first time storytelling, like running a live game. It's gonna be the first game that I actually like close that I've run. It's really weird. It's great. I'll tweet about it later because I'm just totally overwhelmed with how awesome this is to be here with this group of people. The other game that I run, the only other full long-term game that I have and am still running is Fate and the Fable Maidens, which is a podcast, family-friendly actual play podcast that I DM for a couple of my dearest friends. You can find that at Fate FM Cast on social media or at fatefmcast.com. And after this, we're actually going over to Weave Society on Geek and Sundry, where they actually play the game week to week. So it's kind of perfect that our show, this one ran a little bit long, but hey, it's the opening week. This is like the pilot episode. It's like, it's got a little bit of action in it. So they're actually playing Weave, and they're playing another unpublished playset that was written by someone else in the community called Prospect City. So that should be pretty interesting. And Alice, over to you.
Awesome. Well, first of all, Renee, thank you, because that was awesome. You had nothing to worry about at all. Though I do get why people worry, because I still worry before every single game, so don't worry. But
my heart is still pounding.
But you remembered to breathe.
Yay.
So this was really awesome. I'm personally just so excited to learn more about Dynama. I want to see more of Fen being a badass. I want to see more of Sierra's like speeches, because that was pretty intense as well. And Skylar just making friends with like all like the I really liked the interaction between them and like the guy who was selling herbs at like all the stall and stuff like that. I really, really liked that. I like all these characters. I like how dynamic we all are and how really different we all are, and I can tell we're going to be, but mixed well. What else is it? Oh yeah, I'm White Rabbit Pick. You can find me on Twitter. When I do a lot of photography, and that is my other job. If you want to go and check that out. Otherwise, I run on this channel. I run our Eberron, our Dragon Age, and tomorrow I start off with Realm of the Ancients, our Cypher System campaign, as well as being in campaigns on this channel, and also 2 more over on Tales of the Grimjack's channel. I will be in one that Julie has played in. I will be going in for Lady Blackbird over there, and I am also going to be part of their new Highlander Cypher System campaign over there. So I'm super excited for all of this, and I'm so excited to see where this story goes, and all the stories on this channel, to be honest, because they're all so awesome so far.
Yeah.
So we are going to go and raid Geek and Sundry. The war cry is your lucky numbers are 7, 13, and 42. But yes, everyone go hop in our Discord. It's full of wonderful people like you can see here in chat and on this stream. We talk TTRPGs, D&D, all things wonderful, basically. Also, if you want to get into a game, drop Scrat a message on Twitter. So we have Ryutama, D&D 5e, Monster of the Week, Cypher System, My Brain Has Gone, Ravnica, and another D&D 5e. I think I said some of them twice, but there we go. If you want to get into one of those games, drop Scrat a message on Twitter. We are now full-time, and that is thanks to you guys, and we love playing with everyone, basically, and we love bringing people to D&D, to TTRPGs, trying out new systems, like Rennie has brought this wonderful Weave system to us today. So a way to support us and keep this going is via Patreon. We also have some free articles on there, written by Renee, so you can go check those out. She is freelance, so please go check that out. And also we have merch in via Redbubble, where you can get super cozy jumpers, super comfortable t-shirts, and super weird stuff, wall hangings, just, yeah, it's all there. We have some fab sponsors in the form of Bird in the Storm, who is our very own tool school, who you may see on Eberron, and also Bird versus Plane. They are they created the module in the Midnight Wield, which is so good. I definitely go recommend you go and give that playthrough. They also have links in the chat to their merch. They too do cozy jump. They don't do leggings, but they do nice jumpers and t-shirts, and mugs the size literally of my head. So that's pretty good as well. One of our other sponsors is also Mayhem Press, who the Dark Matter series you saw in action last season on Argo 37, and you can see in action tomorrow night, 10 p.m. EST, with Laugh, Love, Lindy. We also have a couple of things down in chat. We've got some discount codes for Aris Savard, Devon Rue, if you want to get some maps and bits and bobs like that. And I know there's another one. I know there is. But yeah, tabletop loot. Basically, everything you need for a game, you can get down. See all the discount codes below. So, other than that, we're going to go and raid Geek and Sundry. So head in there, throw in that war cry, show some love, and as Renee said, they are playing Weave, which I now think I'm going to become very addicted to. So please go show them some love, and guys, keep evoking emotions, and we will see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. EST. See you later. Bye.